Hello, beautiful souls. So, in this video today, I want to talk all about crystals for Mercury in retrograde. So, this is a period that we face usually 3 or 4 times a year, and it can really hand us a lot of frustration, anxiety, and even high stress. I actually experienced it myself earlier this week amidst this retrograde of having my internet crash. It was not fun. I did get really frustrated. And sometimes in Mercury in retrograde, we just have to take it as a sign that we need to just slow down and take time to relax. And there definitely are ways to do that with greater ease. And for me, one of the things I always go to are my meditation practice, mindfulness, tools that help me to shift into a higher frequency state and not be bogged down by the stress and anxiety. So I want to talk a little bit about retrograde, what that is, and some crystals for supporting you during this time. So, for starters, you probably know all the planets are moving around the sun, making their orbit, and they appear to go from east to west. That's their traditional path. And Mercury, it only takes Mercury 88 days to travel around the sun. As you know, it takes us 365 days because we're farther out. So, well, and because of the rate of our orbit. But Mercury, because it's only 88 days, there are about 3 or 4 times a year where it will appear to us from Earth as if it's going backwards, as if it's going from west to east instead of east to west. And it's thought by astrologers that during this time, we lose the influence of that planet. And so Mercury governs communication, travel, learning, and technology. And so during this period, it's thought that we lose the influence of Mercury on these things, and these things can kind of start to go a little haywire without that stability and balance from Mercury. And these periods usually last about 3 weeks. So, for 3 or 4 times out of the year, for the 3 week period, we're experiencing this Mercury in retrograde event. And so, what that can look like for us are things like delayed travel, right? You're traveling in an airport and there are flight delays galore, right? Or maybe maybe your flight gets canceled flights or canceled travel, canceled plans. When it comes to communication, this can be botched communications. It can be maybe you meant to say one thing, but then it didn't come out that way, or your intention wasn't really, communicated the way you meant for it to. Or maybe it's in business presentations. You have this whole plan to present things a certain way, and it just goes sideways for whatever reason, and it falls on deaf ears. Contracting, right? Whenever we're trying to create contracts, it's thought that we don't want to start or initiate any kind of contracting period during a Mercury in retrograde. If you've already been working on a deal, whether it's buying a house or a business deal or any kind of agreement that would require a legal contract, if you've been working on it prior to Mercury going in retrograde, then it's okay to close that during retrograde. But if you start it during that retrograde period, it's likely to have negative outcomes in the future. So it's usually said that we don't want to start agreements or sign agreements during that retrograde period. Learning, sometimes our learning can be challenged. It can be really difficult. We can mess up on exams if you're in college, or if you're having to take exams for any kind of continuing education. You can really start to screw up your exams and not have the outcomes that you had expected. And so there's so many things we experience. I mentioned my internet crashing. Technology woes are just abound in a Mercury period. They are more prevalent a lot of times. And so these things can cause so much stress and anxiety, right? And so I want to talk about some key crystals that I go to during this period. So, a lot of them support the throat chakra and communication and being able to keep a clear mind. But there's also an element of staying rooted and grounded and nourished during this time. So, let's start there with the grounding crystal that I love. And it's uh, Desert Jasper or Polychrome Jasper. It goes by both names. And Jaspers I have a few different pieces here to show you some of the variations. They have this beautiful earthy tone that range in all these beautiful desert colors, from blues to yellows to rusty reds and browns. And Jasper is known as the supreme nurturer. It just really helps to bring in a sense of calm and allows us to feel deeply comforted. And I know that can be difficult if you are super high stress. The last thing you could think of is to be calm, but having a moment to just, even if it's a moment of mindfulness, to connect with your stone, to hold it in your hand. And palm stones are wonderful for this. Just holding it in your hand, just taking in a few deep breaths and just receiving its energies, receiving that grounding, and just allowing that breath to anchor you and to anchor in that energy. Desert jasper can be a wonderful stone for inviting in that nurturing and that calm, grounding vibrational energy to just kind of help bring you back to center, to recognize this isn't going to be forever. This is only temporary, that you are still a beautiful being of light. Just come right back into your center. Recognize maybe you just need to slow down, right? Maybe you just need to take a deep breath. Maybe this is a time to just take a step back. So invite in desert jasper to help you on that front. Okay, another stone that I really love on this note of rest is blue calcite. And so blue calcite is wonderful at inviting in calming energies, but this can also really help you with communication and with clearly communicating what it is that you want to get across. It also connects you with your intuition. So this is a beautiful stone that connects both the throat chakra and that third eye and crown. It kind of supports these upper chakras and connecting with light energy and source energy. You see how it has this beautiful light blue color? It's kind of infiltrated with white light, right? And so we have access to our intuitive abilities here. And so the stone helps us to bring in those intuitive abilities and just to be able to clearly communicate what it is that we want to communicate. And it also really invites us to rest. This is a wonderful stone for recovery as well. So if you are in a place where you're recovering from anything, whether that's a physical injury or even emotional trauma or anything that could be where you're needing to just rest and slow down, the stone can be wonderfully supportive for that. So I have a few other blue stones on the list, but I want to kind of pause there and jump to another stone that really supports the third eye and clarity, and that is fluorite. I love this stone. Really, I feel like it's something that's needed just about every day by all of us, right? And I have a few different varieties I'm showing you here, and there are different varieties of fluorite. You can find more green stones that connect more with the heart, blue stones that connect a little bit more with the throat, and then the purple that connects a little bit more with the third eye. But I'm showing you here pieces of rainbow fluorite that just have all of those colors present. This is a really dark piece. I don't know if you can see the color variations there, but I really love rainbow fluorite because it ensures that you're just kind of getting what you need across the board on those different chakra centers. And fluorite is a master organizer. So talk about a time where there's chaos in the information world and confusion. Fluorite can be really, really helpful at cutting through the noise, of getting to the heart of clarity so that you can make really sound decisions. Fluorite is a master organizer at organizing logical things in the mind, organizing information, putting structure into place so that you can think more clearly. And whenever Mercury starts to whip up a windstorm of chaos or confusion or frustration, it can be really hard to think clearly, right? Your mind can be messy. You can just be in this place of emotionally reacting versus really taking a step back and responding to what's in front of you. And so fluorite can be really wonderful at helping you to just get clear, right? To just get clear and get organized before you start to speak. And so fluorite's a wonderful stone. It also is really good for learning too. And we know that Mercury affects that learning piece and just information going haywire. So if you are taking an exam or having to study, fluorite can be a wonderful companion for helping you to stay focused on the information at hand. Okay, moving on, I want to move on to Sodalite. So I love this stone because it also is connecting the throat chakra with that third eye. And I have a few pieces here. This piece has a little bit of more orange in it in the white. I just love this variation. So Sodalite's actually known as the poet stone. It's wonderful for writers, and it really helps you with finding your words, right? Finding your words and being able to communicate that. But because it's also supporting the third eye, it's helping you to bring in that intuitive flow. So if you have that intuitive spark, that divine spark of creativity flowing in through you, and you're trying to put that into words to communicate it out, Sodalite is the perfect companion. If you're in a place where you're writing business proposals or writing marketing content or having to, put things into words, even writing contracts, but especially things that require a creative element to them, Sodalite is really wonderful to have during a Mercury retrograde period, and really any time, but especially during Mercury in retrograde, to help support you so that you're not influenced by those energies that can cause all of that stuff to go haywire or cause you to lose that creative spark or just have that writer's block and not be able to put things into words. So Sodalite's a great companion there. Okay, my last crystal recommendation for Mercury in retrograde is, any guesses? Chrysocolla. I love this stone. This may be one of my favorites. I just really feel deeply connected to the color. Here's a nice big piece to show you all the beautiful color. So it really has a lot of turquoisey tones and teal colors. And then of course there's just some other minerals there that are woven in with the browns. And Chrysocolla is like the goddess stone. It has so much feminine energy to it and really helps to provide that nourishing and nurturing element of a great mother, right? So it can be deeply restorative and help you to deeply relax during this time if you do find yourself amidst chaos, confusion, frustration, and stress. And it can help to just it can help to reduce that anxiety and bring about greater states of calm and relaxation. This stone also, it connects with the throat chakra, but it also connects with the heart and the higher heart. Any turquoise stones kind of blend together, that green and that blue, to make that turquoise color. So they do a nice job of integrating the energies of both the throat and the heart. And so Chrysocolla is really wonderful for helping you to speak what's on your heart. Right? So sometimes it can be really hard if we're feeling things emotionally to be able to put those into words, to be able to communicate in a grounded way, to be able to communicate with calmness and ease and not get so overtaken by our emotions that we're just spouting off, right? Chrysocolla can help us to synthesize what the heart is feeling emotionally and put it into words so that we can start to communicate clearly and more effectively what it is that's on our heart. It can also help to soothe emotional wounds in the process as well, helping you to articulate and understand those yourself. So those are my top 5 crystal recommendations for Mercury in retrograde. I would love to hear what you think, and if you have any crystals that you love to go to for Mercury in retrograde, feel free to comment below and ask any questions that you have as well about crystals or other ways of getting support during Mercury in retrograde. I hope you're having an amazing day. Keep shining.